Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the 15th meeting of the Honolulu Liquor Commission. We have two commissioners present this afternoon in person, and we have one over the phone. Commissioner Hong, can you hear us okay?
Yes, I can hear you.
Great, thank you. And are you alone in the room, or is there anyone with you?
No, I'm alone in my brother-in-law's man cave.
Okay, thank you very much, Commissioner. We will move into our agenda for this afternoon. Then I see that there are minutes to approve. Commissioners, may I have a motion?
Yes, Chair. Motion to approve the minutes of the 5th and the 9th meeting as previously circulated.
Second,
There's been a motion and a second. Any objections or reservations? Hearing and seeing none, I also vote aye. The motion carries. The minutes of the 5th and 9th meetings as previously circulated are approved. At this time, we'll move into our agenda for this afternoon, calling agenda item number 1, transfer application number 22-24272 from My Restaurant Group, Inc.
Good afternoon, Chairman, members of the commission. To my right is the president, Min Young Choi. He is present with Council Wayne Luke. We have no changes to the investigators report.
Thank you, Mr. Luke. Mr. Ruff.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and Commissioners. This application has received 0 written protests, 0 letters in support. Applicant has met statutory requirements for the submission of this application.
Thank you, Mr. Wright. Is there anyone who'd like to provide public testimony as to agenda item number 1? Hearing and seeing none, commissioners?
Motion to approve transfer application number 22-24272.
second,
Been a motion and a second. Any objections or reservations? Hearing and seeing none, I also vote aye. The motion carries. Transfer application number 22-24272 is approved.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Calling agenda item number 2, transfer application number 23-01966 from Lita Living Corporation. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Chair Buckley and members of the commission. Neil Gota, appearing on behalf of Rita Living Corporation. Appearing with me is Troy Shimamoto, General Manager. We have no changes to the investigative report. For the record, applicant has been operating on a temporary license with no problems.
Thank you very much, Mr. Gota. Mr. Rai.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and Commissioners. This application has received 0 written protests, 0 letters in support. Applicants with statutory requirements for the submission of this application.
Thank you, Mr. Rai. Is there anyone who would like to provide public testimony as to agenda item number 2? Hearing and seeing none, commissioners.
Motion to approve transfer application number 23-01966.
second,
There's been a motion and a second. Any objections or reservations? Hearing and seeing none, I also vote aye. The motion carries. Transfer application number 23-01966 is approved.
Thank you very much.
Calling agenda item number 3, application number 23-00348 from Core Hawaii F&B LLC.
Good afternoon, Chair Buckley, members of the commission. Lincoln Ashita, appearing on behalf of applicant for Hawaii Food and Beverage LLC. Present to my right is Brett Akimoto. He serves as the applicant's food and beverage manager. We have nothing further to submit or any further input with respect to this application. Not sure if the investigator's report has been made part of the record. But if not, we'd ask that it be made part of the record. We have nothing further.
Yes, thank you very much, Mr. Shida. Mr. Rai.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and Commissioners. This application has received 0 written protests, 0 letters in support. Applicants with statutory requirements for the submission of this application.
Is there anyone who would like to provide public testimony as to agenda item number 3? Hearing and seeing none, commissioners.
Motion to approve application number 23-00348.
second,
There's been a motion and a second. Any objections or reservations? Hearing and seeing none, I also vote aye. The motion carries. Application number 23-00348 is approved.
Thank you, Commissioners. Ms. Rai.
Calling agenda item number 4, application number 23-00690 from Himuro Inc. Mr. Kyuchi, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chair, members of the commission, Pete Kyuchi for the applicant. We have no other changes or revisions to the investigator's report.
Thank you, Mr. Kyuchi. Ms. Rai.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and Commissioners. This application has received 0 written protests, 0 letters in support. Applicants met statutory requirements for the submission of this application.
Thank you, Mr. Rai. Is there anyone who would like to provide public testimony as to agenda item number 4? Here, oh, you will, please come, sir.
690 case.
23-00690 Himuro Inc.
Yeah, that's the one. I would like to.
Yes, please come forward, sir. Mr. I will swear you in and then you'll have 3 minutes to provide any testimony you'd like.
Thank
to
you,
provide.
Your Honor. My name is Daniel Wu. Oh,
Do you swear that the testimony you give at today's hearing will be the truth, whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I will.
All right, thank you. Let's sit down. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Please state your name and feel free to provide your testimony.
My name is Daniel Wu and I'm resident in the within block and a half of the establishment. My main concern will be the noise. Cause right now I live right across from Chico, another bar, and we didn't have to put up with the noise up to 3 o'clock. For instance, last night, 1:40, I got awakened by loud noise from the people came out, take smoking break, because they don't just find the noise inside. When they came out, feeling good and high, smoking, oh, they tends to laugh loud and talk loud. So I'm afraid the similar situation gonna happen when this. So I would like to request for the denial of the license, the issuing of the license. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, sir. Before you step down, commissioners, do you have any questions for Mr. Wu?
No, I don't.
No,
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Mr. Kyuchi, would you like to respond at all to the statements made
Yeah.
under the testimony?
I think the bar he's talking about is at least a block away.
Mhm.
This establishment fronts South King Street. The main entrance, however, is facing the parking lot. It's kind of shielded from the residential area, if you look at that. This used to be at one time the site of, it used to be Woodcraft, after that it was Pittsburgh Paints. So we don't anticipate to have the kind of noise that the testifier is concerned about. Although we do have a music aspect to the license, the sound containment in that first floor is very good. It's a solid CMU building. So we understand his concerns, and this is not an establishment. The establishment will be open till 2 AM, but it's not the kind of establishment that I think he's concerned about, frankly.
Mhm.
But I will advise my clients who are on a business trip, and they will we'll make sure that we police the noise.
The live entertainment is only inside. Is there any outside?
No,
component?
there's not gonna be anything outside. If you look at the diagram, there's an entrance that's facing the parking lot, and that basically is an entrance for both downstairs and upstairs. And the upstairs, you can see the stairs on the left-hand side of that little indent.
Do you know the testifier, Mr. Wu, referenced the Chico's bar? Do you know where that is located in reference to your space?
It's not on South King Street. I think that's on Young Street.
It's on a side street.
Yeah, Young Street is the next street parallel to South King Street. I think that's what he's referencing.
Mr. Kyuchi, I believe it's on Macaulay, one block,
Macaulay,
Yeah.
yeah.
yeah, Mackay.
Okay.
And do you know where the residential areas are in relation to your
It's on Young Street.
on Young Street?
There's no residential area per se on that side of South King, but it's on the back side on Young Street. There's some apartments there.
Thank you for that clarification. And one final question from me. Again, the testifier referenced the Chico's bar. I don't expect you to know exactly what Chico's bar does or operates or whatnot. But you did say that you felt your establishment was not going to be meeting the same concerns that the testifier had. Could you provide a little bit more clarity as to why you think that?
This is going to be run primarily as a wine bar. The Miss Kawaharada has 2 other establishments. She owns Mr. Oji-san, and she owns a bar with a hostess license, Kingyo, that's really run more as a local bar. So she would, this is gonna have a very different type of clientele. It's gonna probably be more wine drinkers than people that would drink hard liquor or beer. But maybe a lot more subtle crowd, muted crowd, so.
Thank you, Mr. Kyuchi. Commissioners, any further questions, comments, or type of action?
Mr. Kyuchi, do you know if your client plans to, I know you said they plan to be open till 2 o'clock, but do you know if they plan to have entertainment or music all the way to that 2
No.
o'clock hour?
No, they'll probably cut the entertainment off way before midnight.
Okay. Because obviously the longer you keep entertainment, the more you keep people there and hanging out and.
Yeah, it's not that kind of vibe like, like a nightclub or
Okay.
anything like that. It's gonna be operated very different.
Okay.
So,
I have no other questions.
I provide, I read that.
Point of order, Mr. Rai, do we allow testimony rebuttal? That's not typically
I'm getting a no from co-counsel.
from counsel. No. Sorry, sir. Commissioner Hong, do you have any additional comments?
No, I'm fine. Thank you.
Thank you.
Motion to approve application number 23-00690.
Second,
There's been a motion and a second. Any objections or reservations? Hearing and seeing none, I also vote aye. The motion carries. Application number 23-00690 is approved. Calling agenda item number 5, application number 23-01906 from Ohana PHL LLC.
again, good afternoon, Mr. Chair, members of the commission, Chief Yuchi for the applicant. To my right is Huang Lei, Hoang, last name Le. He's a member of the applicant. We have no other changes or revision to investigator's report. Investigator Walker did send us the 2 protests, written protests.
Thank you, Mr. Kyuchi. I do believe there are 3 protests. Is that correct, Mr. Rai?
The valid count is 2.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Kyuchi. Mr. Rai.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and Commissioners. This application has received 2 written protests, 0 letters in support. Applicants met statutory requirements for the submission of this application.
Is there anyone who'd like to provide public testimony as to agenda item number 5? Hearing and seeing none, Mr. Kyuchi, I'll start with you. There have been 2 protests, as you pointed out. Would you like to respond to the contents of those
Sure.
protests?
Both protesters referenced the previous tenant, which was Misty One. That's a very different operation. When my client first applied for this license, it was only a hostess license. And if you recall, the difficulty we had is the previous tenant had not surrendered their license. So we were kind of almost forced to buy out the previous tenant. So that's why the application is for the same class, which is both nudity, dancing, and hostess. It's not been run with nude dancing in there at all. That's not what my client tends to do. It's primarily a hostess bar with some karaoke rooms. Very different atmosphere than Misty One had. And one of the things I would note is they've actually been running this place since November of last year. Because this temporary license ran out like in June. We had to get a special license. So they've been running it now for almost a year. And the letters don't reference that because I think my clients have done a good job about keeping the noise down. And we realize it's a noise sensitive area. We realize that there are condominiums in the area. So we'll be mindful of that going forward, but they haven't had complaints. If they had complaints since then, I'd probably be a lot more concerned.
Yes, thank you. I wanted to make the note that you have been operating for a while on temporary licenses, so it sounds like there haven't been noise complaints or other problems during that time.
Yeah, when the client first signed the lease there, I had a long talk with them. There is a hostess bar right next door, which is also my client, which is Thai Station, and they've both been very mindful of the neighborhood.
And this is on Kona Street, close to the Ala Moana Mall, is that correct?
It's about a half block away from the Ala Moana Shopping Center. It's about a half block away from Pequot.
Mhm.
So the 88 Pequot is right on Pequot.
That's a little corridor, right, where they put that new condominium right across
Right.
from Ala Moana, right?
And that condominium obviously came way after. This is the old
Yeah,
Iolani Sportswear building.
Yeah.
So it's a large building. On the other side is where Side Street Inn is. And there's another bar next to Side Street Inn. The reason for the proximity to bars is this used to be the location of the old Carnegie nightclub. You go back 20 years, and that had a 4 o'clock license. So part of this where Ginza and Boda are still a 4 o'clock license. But this is kind of carved up a little bit from that. But Misty One was operating for over 20 years.
Is this a 4 o'clock license?
No, it's a 2 o'clock. It's a 2 o'clock hostess. And again, if the commission wants to put a limitation that they not activate the new dancing part of the license, we don't have a problem with that. So.
Commissioners?
Does Jeff have any questions?
No,
So, Mr. Kichi, I am going to, so a couple of quick things. I am going to state, please, if there is going forward any type, if this does get approved, if there is any type of noise complaints or things, please have your client work best to address these issues based on the fact we do have some people in the area that are worried about the noise. My motion is going to be to approve application number 23-01906 with the caveat that the nudity part not be allowed, or how would we, can we? make a motion?
Not be.
Not activated?
Not be implemented without prior approval of the commission. How's that?
Okay, so I'll make the motion that the nudity portion cannot be enacted without prior commission approval.
The category 2 activity
The
will not
category
be,
two,
will
correct.
not be introduced without, okay, got it.
before I second, I just want to ensure that Mr. Kiuchi, your client is comfortable with this just because of the nature of the way that he wants to run his bar rather than viewing that as some sort of condition in terms of the propriety of that type of bar in the position and location that it's in.
Yeah, that's good. When they first signed a lease, what they wanted to do is operate a hostess bar. One of the partners, Michael Nguyen, was involved in a hostess bar elsewhere, which would explain part of that. They did not intend to use the strip component, and which is why I offered that. And that's something we've talked for a while. And one of the things they've since done after had the investigator look at, because there's an adjustment to the floor plan. They've done well with the karaoke rooms, and that takes away, you run the strip bar, you run a whole large room. You don't run separate karaoke. So, yeah, so they're obviously moving in that direction. But yeah,
All right.
no, it's not only because of the concerns that raised that I offer that. I think my client never intended to buy Misty One's license, and we were kind of put in a position where we really didn't have a choice. So.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Kiuchi. I second.
There's been a motion and a second. Any objections or reservations? Hearing and seeing none, I also vote aye. The motion carries. Application number 23-01906 is approved.
Thank you.
Thank you. Moving into our license applications, calling agenda item number 6, application number 24-00634 from Memoirs LLC. Good afternoon.
Good evening, Chairperson and Commissioners. My name is Taylor Passion, the General Manager of Memoirs Catering. I do not have any changes to this investigative report.
Okay, thank you. So this is a private event for a wedding, 73 guests, limited number, no minors.
Correct.
Commissioners, any other questions or type of action?
I'm sorry, is this one of your typical venues that we've approved, or is this a new one?
Yes, that's correct. It's one of our typical events over at LIQ Honua, where there's a security gate that the code changes every month. So
Okay, got it. Thank you.
Motion to approve application number 24-00634.
Second,
Been a motion and a second. Any objections or reservations? Hearing and seeing none, I also vote aye. The motion carries. Application number 24-00634 is approved. Thank you.
thank you.
Calling agenda item number 7, application number 24-0062 from Pools and Catering by Senior Blunt Inc.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. My name is Sam Alero, General Manager for Cruise and Catering by Sinubla.
Good afternoon, Mr. Lero. So this application is 200 people indoor and outdoor with the bar inside, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And the same security protocol as your typical events?
Yes, sir. At least 2 HPD should be on site. And my staff along with the bartender should be monitoring.
Thank you very much. Commissioners?
Mr. Alero, I will only make the comment once, but it counts for all of your applications. Anytime that you do have the courtyard open and being used where drinks can be carried or consumed, please, let's make sure we keep an eye open for passing or giving drinks back and forth.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Correct. Yeah, we'll have staff on both ends, inside and outside.
Thank you. I have no other questions. Motion to approve application number 24-00662.
second,
There's been a motion and a second. Any objections or reservations? Hearing and seeing none, I also vote aye. The motion carries. Application number 24-00662 is approved. Calling agenda item number 8, application number 24-00663 from Pools and Catering by Senior Blunt Inc.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. My name is Sam Alero, General Manager for Cruise and Catering by Sinubla.
Good afternoon. So this is a smaller events outside only licensed with the bar outside.
Yes, sir.
Commissioner?
Excuse me. Motion to approve application number 24-00663.
second,
Been a motion and a second. Any objections or reservations? Hearing and seeing none, I also vote aye. The motion carries. Application number 24-00663 is approved. Calling agenda item number 9, application number 24-00664 from Pools and Catering by Senior Blunt Inc.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. My name is Sam Alero, General Manager for Cruise and Catering.
Yeah, Mr. Lero. So similar to the previous application, this is limited attendance outside licensed only with the bar outside.
Yes, in the courtyard.
Okay, thank you.
Motion to approve application number 24-00664.
second,
There's been a motion and a second. Any objections or reservations? Hearing and seeing none, I also vote aye. The motion carries. Application number 24-00664 is approved. Thank you very much.
Mahalo. You guys have a good weekend.
Calling agenda item number 10, applications number 24-00672-1 through 24-00672-7 inclusively from Hongkong Inc.
Again, good afternoon, Mr. Chair, and members of the commission, Keith Kiuchi for the applicant. We have no additions or changes to the investigator's report. This is the I said third special license, and the reason it's only till the 19th is we had the preliminary hearing a couple of weeks ago, and I believe the public hearing is on the 16th.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's kind of why we timed it that way. And I've actually been in touch with the investigator, Mr. Takeda. He's going to come out the Friday after the public hearing. This is ironically, it's the next street over from Ohana PHL, but this is run completely as a restaurant. And they close early. They're definitely closed by midnight.
So fingers crossed last special.
Yeah. I mean, I gotta say, investigator Sato has been very patient with me. It's probably the best phrase I can use. So
We all try to be very patient with you, Mr.
thank you.
Motion to approve application number 24-00672-1 through 24-00672 7 inclusively.
Second,
There's been a motion and a second. Any objections, reservations, hearing and seeing none, I also vote aye. The motion carries. Applications number 24-00672-1 through 24-00672-7 inclusively are approved.
Thank you.
Calling agenda item number 11, applications number 24-00675-1 through 24-00675-30 inclusively from Hawaiian Airlines Foundation.
Afternoon, Mr. Chair, members of the commission, Ms. Uriah, Robert Wilk on behalf of Hawaiian Airlines Foundation.
Before you proceed, thank you for making your appearance for the record. Commissioner Hong.
yes, I will need to recuse myself from this matter as I have a business relationship with Hawaiian Airlines.
Thank you, Commissioner Hong. Due to Commissioner Hong's recusal, we do not have quorum to take up this matter. We can reschedule it for the November 2nd
That'll be wonderful.
hearing, which still should be in time for your.
I'll make a note of that. We'll go ahead and place it on the November 2 agenda.
Great, that's wonderful.
So agenda item number 11 is continued due to a lack of quorum to the November 2nd calendar hearing.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Moving into preliminary hearings, calling agenda item number 12, transfer application number 23-01877 from AXC Service Station LLC.
Maurice Howard, AXC Service Station Business Services Manager, and there's no changes to the action investigation.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon. Commissioner.
On second. Just so we get to.
Before we go, I could, hearings report, do you need spelling of that last name?
Oh, HOWARD.
Thank you.
So just summarizing, this is a retail license, correct?
Yes.
In King Street.
So the door to enter, that's gonna be the one by the sales area, correct? And the coffee counter and counter
Yes.
one, the back door to the storage area, that's gonna just be an exit, correct?
Yes.
And no one's gonna be able to come in from that door, correct?
Yes, correct.
Okay. I have no other questions. Motion to approve application number 23-01877.
Second,
Been a motion and a second. Any objections, reservations? Hearing seeing none, I also vote aye. The motion carries. Transfer application number 23-01877 is approved.
Okay,
Thank you.
Thank you.
Calling agenda item number 13, application number 23-01612 from Ringer Hut Hawaii Inc.
Afternoon, Chairman Buckley, members of the commission, Naomi Cole on behalf of Ringer Hut Hawaii Inc. Present to my right is authorized agent Miss Christy Melender, spelled Milender. Present to my left is the manager Kohei, spelled Kohei. Last name Tabata, Tabata. As for the investigative report, just a clarification on page 3. We only have one liquor license, which is the one located inside the Ala Moana Shopping Center. The one at Kahio was closed and we no longer have the liquor license there. We have no other changes.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon. Commissioners.
I have no other questions. Motion to approve application number 23-01612.
second,
It's been a motion and a second. Any objections, reservations? Hearing and seeing none, I also vote aye. The motion carries. Application number 23-01612 is approved. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Commissioners.
Calling agenda item number 14, application number 23-02122 from KPRR Enterprises Limited.
There should be two of you today.
I know, it's so lonely up here.
Anyway, good afternoon, Mr. Chairman and Commissioner, instead of commissioners. James Lee representing KPRR Enterprises Ltd. Seated to my right is the Patrick Choi, owner and operator of the restaurant. And we don't have anything to add to the report at this moment.
Thank you very much. Commissioners, questions, comments, or care of action?
I have no questions.
Mm.
Motion to approve application number 23-02122.
Second,
Been a motion and a second. Any objections, reservations? Hearing and seeing none, I also vote aye. The motion carries. Application number 23-02122 is approved. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Calling agenda item number 15, application number 24-00095 from Ambassador Owner LP.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Christina O'Hara for the applicant. We don't have any corrections per se to the investigative report, although we disagree, obviously with its conclusion. But I'm happy to answer any questions or respond at your pleasure.
Okay, thank you, Ms. O'Hara. So this has come up before us previously, and this is regarding a standalone temporary for a hotel license. Briefly summarizing, I think the issue in the investigative report that was raised was the fact that a temporary typically is only permissible for the previous class in the premise that you're applying for. In this case, it wasn't a hotel license, it was a restaurant license. Is that an accurate summary?
Correct, for which we applied for and received the waiver.
Mhm.
And so I think, respectfully, I think the investigator maybe disagrees with your granting of that waiver, but it was granted. And so that's why I disagree with the way this report was written, because I feel like it actually should have been written with your waiver in mind and had more of that as its basis, but that's, different people have different takes on that.
Commissioners, any questions or comments or type of action?
So I'm gonna make a motion to go into an executive session to consult with the board's attorneys on powers. On questions and issues on the matter pertaining to board's powers, duties, privileges, immunities, and liabilities. I'll entertain a motion in the executive session.
second,
There's been a motion and a second. Any objections, reservations? Hearing and seeing none, I also vote aye. The motion carries. We are now in executive session. Okay, we are back on the record. Thank you for allowing us time to enter into executive session. We discussed the statutory provisions relevant to this agenda item. Thank you, Ms. O'Hara, for your patience. We already summarized the application in this request previously. It relates specifically to the Ohio Revised Statutes, Chapter 281-32, in part at least A1. So I'm going to read that quickly. A temporary license of any class and kind specified in Section 281-31 may be granted under the following conditions. Subsection 1, the premises shall have operated under a license of the same class, kind, and category issued by the Liquor Commission at least 1 year immediately prior to the date of filing the application for a temporary license. And I'll pause there. The parties, or I'm sorry, Ms. O'Hara has stated that that is not correct. It was a different license class. The provision A1 goes on to say, except as otherwise approved by the commission. I think that's the part we'll focus on for the moment. The except as otherwise approved by the commission to us indicates that the legislature as a default wanted the same class, kind, and category to be the case for a temporary license to be issued. However, the ledge thought that there would be potential situations where fairness and other considerations would require the commission to come to a different result and provided an exception to that extent. We look at this as an exception and not the rule. We don't want an exception used in one matter to be looked at as precedent for any other matter. We view this type of exception as something that is examined on a case-by-case basis and under the totality of the circumstances. So this is something that we will view very carefully if it comes up. I do think there are situations where this would be appropriate. In one kind of broader public policy example of this is the fact that license reviews are taking longer than they used to. And that's putting particular licensees in a bit of a pinch. They're not able to open their establishment as quickly as they had intended or maybe in the past would have been able to do. So what to do about that? Some licensees have been getting creative, and depending on the class of license, there are options available such as catering or special, etc. But for other applicants and other license categories, those options aren't available to them. So it creates a disproportionate burden for some applicants over others. And we see that, we're cognizant of that, and we understand that for any licensee or any applicant right now, the processing time is a big consideration and a challenge. Also, in this case, we're dealing with a hotel. The hotel probably should have had a hotel license in the past. It did not. It chose to do a restaurant, and that's what we have as a previous class. But you're not expanding the footprints at all. You're only expanding vertically, and you're doing it specifically to service the patrons of the hotel and not anyone else. Furthermore, you have, and I believe you can confirm, a permanent license pending for a hotel license. So this is a temporary fix for a permanent solution that's coming down the road. So we have considered all of those factors. And again, I do want to emphasize that this exception, like other exceptions, are just that. They're exceptions to the rule. They should be looked at on a case-by-case basis. And they should never be looked at as precedent for further application or future applications, excuse me. Those are my comments. Commissioners, do you have any other comments or type of action? Sharon Hong?
Yes, and I would like to echo the statements of the chair that the current conditions of the Liquor Commission in terms of providing timely licensure to applicants is impeding the ability of businesses to conduct profitable businesses in Hawaii in a timely fashion. And the use of an exception is with reservation, and it is in that light in terms of utilizing this exemption that was granted by statute for these types of circumstances within an agency, that is the scrutiny that we would be using whenever exercising this exception.
Thank you, Commissioner Ong.
And I think all three of us will echo the same responses that Commissioner Chair Buckley has stated. The idea for us is to look at these things on a case by case basis and in the totality of what's going on in that area, as well as the fact that, yes, we do see the time it takes for certain types of licenses to get through the process and how that works. And so again, these types of things we're looking at very, very closely and going through each one specific for that reason. And again, we do it in wanting to help the licensees prevail, but also being very conscious of what these rules say. And it's not like a free for all type thing. It's going to be reviewed very, very tightly. With that, I will make a motion to approve application number 24-00095.
I second with reservation.
There's been a motion and a second with reservation. Any objections or other reservations? Hearing and seeing none, I also vote aye. The motion carries. Application number 24-00095.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
And I want to say I really appreciate that. I understand that this is an exception. I had another client similarly ask if they could do a temp, and I actually told them, no, you don't fit this unique circumstance. You're just going to pay for specials 3 months at a time. So I definitely get it. And I would only ask if the circumstances were right. So thank you very much.
Thank you. We appreciate that. Calling agenda item number 16, application number 24-00699 from 17A Productions LLC.
Good afternoon. I am Rick Shibasaki, Garo on behalf of 17A Productions and Skull and Crown, applying for a catering license for October 28th, 2023 at the Pro Ridge parking lot area. I think it's the former Sears parking lot for a one-time event, for a Halloween event. It's going to be 18 and over with 21 and over sectioned off area serving alcohol.
Is this just your event or are there others participating?
Angelina and Noah, so there's three of us. We're the same that do the Halloween and Christmas bar. And then Pro Ridge has been wanting us to do something there. As we know, all malls revenue has been down, so they're looking for other alternatives to generate revenue. So we thought it'd be a good event. We'll have scare actors roaming the area, kind of an open format haunted house, I guess you could say.
It looks like the section 21 area is blocked off and ticketed. Is that correct?
We'll be banded. They'll be banded and double stamped. And it's in a double cattle guarded with those cattle guard partitions. So they'll need to do an ID check to get into the event and then another ID check to get into the 21 area.
Commissioners.
So I have two questions. First will be, have you kind of had any discussions with Pro Ridge Mall parking wise? They're gonna be able to leave their cars if they need to?
Yes.
Okay.
So there's that parking lot behind that 21 area. We'll be parking for those attending the event. And I believe Pro Ridge will be handling that to generate parking revenue through them.
Okay. Then the next question is, I know that it says there's ticket sales or a cost for admission. Are you guys selling tickets in advance or is it only when they walk up?
We're doing online ticket sales.
Online ticket sales. Do you have a current number of where you're at currently?
None, yeah, we just went live earlier.
Okay,
today.
I would, if this passes, I would ask that you at least update the commission's administration on the total number of ticket sales, at least prior to your event.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
I'm just wondering how you're going to be checking IDs when everybody is in full costume.
But we will have mask removal. Kind of the typical, like how we do at the Halloween bar, we do full mask removal.
Okay, thank you.
Motion to approve application number 24-00699.
Second,
Been a motion and a second. Any objections or reservations? Hearing and seeing none, I also vote aye. The motion carries. Application number 24-00699 is approved.
Thank you. And as we get closer, we'll send an email with the ticket sales.
Thank you.
Have fun.
Calling agenda item number 17, application number 23-00626 from Island Beach Activities Inc.
Good afternoon, Chair and Commissioner. I'm Gabriel Salvio and I'm representing Islands Beach Activities. The only correction that we have is we've moved from a temporary mooring to a permanent mooring. And so there's been a change of where we moor.
Commissioners, any questions or type of action?
So I'm just confirming, right, that we have current updated changes, right? There's but for E212 and E214, slips 642 and 643.
Correct.
Okay. Thank you.
I see. And just to clarify, those are your permanent moorings.
Correct.
Got it. Thank you very much.
Motion to approve application number 23-00626.
Second,
Been a motion and a second. Any objections or reservations? Hearing and seeing none, I also vote aye. The motion carries. Application number 23-00626 is approved.
Thank you. Thank you.
Moving into requests, calling agenda item number 18, request number 01649 from Taste of Thai Cuisine LLC.
Chairman of this commission, Greg Nishio, as agent of on behalf of the requesting party. We've also on Zoom is Kenneth Lee, that's KENNETH, first name, last name, Lee, who's a member. We have received investigative report, have no changes, additions, or comments there too.
Thank you, commissioners. I guess I'll start. So this is a different floor.
Yes,
Expanding.
it's basically they're expanding on the first floor as well as the second floor. If you look at the exhibits, basically exhibit A is the current space in use. And exhibit B1 is the downstairs extension and B2 is the upstairs. The walkway on the outside is not going to be used for dining service, but it's merely to transport food and liquor to the additional extended portions of the premises.
Thank you. If there's any other questions, comments, or type of action?
So based on the floor plan and what you cited that you're gonna use the corridor in the back to move things from one side to the other side. So you have two separate entrances, correct?
Correct.
And okay, so two separate entrances. All right. And then the second floor, on the top portion, right, that that's additional where it says dining space below on the first floor. Is that like an open space or is that where there's another whole floor there that you could use?
It's basically a floor you can use. It won't be used for everyday purposes, normally for special events.
Special events, okay.
So if you notice, there is no actual kitchen area per se.
And so is there for that second floor, right, where you might use for special events, is the only stairway up the one that's in between the two built in between the two, like right where it says dining space a bit below, like on the left side of that, that's the only stairway up, and it's only stairway up is from the only one establishment, right, the new addition.
Correct.
Okay. You can be using that area as well to bring up, I'm assuming, food or liquor if you need to.
Yes.
Okay. I have no
And
other
that's the
questions.
reason why we have that outside portion, Commissioner.
I have no other questions. Motion to approve request number 23-01649.
second,
Been a motion and a second. Any objections or reservations? Hearing and seeing none, I also vote aye. The motion carries. Request number 23-01649 is approved. Thank you.
Thank you.
Calling agenda item number 19, request number 24-00157 from LP Hawaii Corporation.
Mr. Chair, Commissioners, earlier today, we received an email from the requestor asking that this matter be withdrawn. I'll ask that you take action on that withdrawal, please.
Okay, commissioners, may I have a motion?
So we just need to motion request number 24-00157 has been withdrawn.
Yes, take act, approve the withdrawal.
My
Second,
motion is to
Approve.
approve the withdrawal of request number 24-00157. Got it.
second,
Been a motion and a second. Any objections, reservations? Hearing and seeing none, I also vote aye. The motion carries. Request number 24-00157 is withdrawn. Calling agenda item number 20, request number 24-00600 from Club 550.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. My name is Rainier Avero, authorized agent.
Afternoon. So this is a request to renew your liquor license. It lapsed in at the end of June.
Correct.
What's been the issue?
During the first hearing, I wasn't clear on that we had a deadline. Because I told you guys that our COI was gonna happen within 2 weeks, but it didn't.
Okay, so you're still working to
Yes,
get your
we-
insurance
yeah.
coverage?
And I do have, if you guys wanted to see proof of we're trying, but we got declined from at least 10 markets so far. So,
Do you have any, that's a lot. Do you have any headway on any others?
well, we have the previous owners, lawyers helping us run. So
And at this point, you don't really have a time frame for that, is that
No.
correct? The- So just point of order, agenda item number 20 just simply requests approval to renew its license after the deadline, but it doesn't specify a date to do so. Do we need to specify a date?
The recommendation is not to leave it open-ended. For example, if they truly don't know when it's gonna happen, give them till the end of this license year, which is June 30th, 2024. If they complete it, then they can come and affect the license, but it's better not to leave it open-ended.
Okay,
So they have until June of 2024 within which to complete the renewal and pick up.
but just as a point of clarification, until they do so, they will not be able to serve liquor.
Correct.
Does that sound good?
Hey, could I ask one more question?
Sure.
Is there a reason why Liquor Commission cashed our licensee payment if we didn't turn in our COI yet?
That's what, when you submit your renewal,
Mhm.
if at some point you decide not to renew, we would return
Okay.
your renewal fee. Basically, when you renew the license and submit your renewal fee, we assume you're gonna complete the renewal. And it is recorded as pending in our system until you can finish.
So it's easier to process once we just turn in our COI.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. Could you-
So we would need to make the motion. Trying to figure out how the wording would be. Sorry,
So to approve.
request number 24-00600 with the verbiage of. Have to the end of. This licensing year to finalize,
Or to complete the renewal.
okay, to complete the renewal.
okay, second,
Okay,
Sorry, that was bad boy.
yeah,
okay, it's getting late in the evening. We have a motion and a second. Any objections, reservations, hearing and seeing none, I also vote aye. The motion carries. Request number 24-00600 is approved upon the condition that licensee will complete the renewal process no later than June 30th, 2024.
Thank you.
Thank you. Calling request, agenda item number 21, request number 24-00648, Jermaine's Luau Inc.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chair, members of the commission, Keith Kiuchi for the licensee. This is a request to allow a minor named Aleki, A-L-E-K-I, Kiesel, K-I-E-S-C-L, to perform as a dancer, 16 and soon be 17. Jermaine's has had a difficulty finding performers, and this performer would actually be doing a knife dance, which is a skill that's not easy to pick up. And that's why we're asking for the waiver to allow this minor, they would not be serving alcohol, just be performing.
So I guess my question, Mr. Kyuchi, is currently correct. So my understanding, right, if you, the request is to waive that rule, right? For that
Yes.
person. So currently though, is there not there is a way, right, for a business or a company to allow a minor to work during a performance or during an event, correct?
Yeah, I ran a restaurant, so you would have to go through a process of getting the parents' letter and going through that process. So, yeah, I understand what you're saying, that there's a process.
Because ultimately, I mean, my concern is, right, with if you waive a rule, then that means it's automatic, right? Where, you know, I think if there's a current way of doing it without waiving the rule, it's easier for us to be consistent with sticking with the current practice than waiving a rule. And then ultimately, once you waive a rule, right, if that dancer decides to change, then it's waived and someone else can come in and do the same thing.
I would just leave it for this one individual. That's why I specifically stated the name.
If I could just interrupt for just a second. So I did provide the commission with a copy of the form LIQ LIC 125, which is specific to request for a minor under the age of 18 performing at events, which is different from the form to employ a minor to work on the licensed premises. So it is a single page form. Typically, if it's completely filled out and sent to us, it's an administrative approval, and we do usually approve these same day. So the signature would have to be by whoever the adult leader is who will be responsible for supervising that minor while he or she is performing on the premises. And that's about it. In addition to a name of event, dates, location, times. I imagine it could be filled out to encompass more than just the single date, although usually we see these for a single date or a series of dates.
And I think that's why the waiver was requested, because it's more than a single date.
Yeah, I think I see a potential discrepancy between an event on a
Right.
date and a hiring
Continued employment.
situation where they're
Right.
performing nightly, let's say, for example, and you'd have to fill out and submit this form every day.
Yeah,
Mr. I think I'm hearing you, if I'm hearing you correctly, the form in the event of an employee type of situation where they were going to perform at a luau event, could they use this form as an ongoing basis for that individual, for that specific event? Or would they have to submit this?
I mean,
every-
typically it is done for what we get and processes for an event.
Mhm.
It could be not just a single day, but something that is over the course of a holiday weekend or something fairly limited in time. I believe what council is referring to is for a specific person, sort of an ongoing engagement that where we would not maybe have those dates and times. So that would be, I guess, the parameters of the waiver requested for the commission.
so maybe the better way to put the waiver request, we're not asking for a waiver, but just a waiver on the dates. This form would still have to be submitted, but then it's not restricted to the one date. And maybe that's a better clarification.
Yeah, because, obviously we need to ensure we're protecting minors
Right.
under the age of 18, and we
Correct.
don't want a blanket waiver that deviates
Right.
from that.
Understood. So with that correction, that's what we would ask.
Okay, so I have a question, Kyuchi. So are they looking that they're doing luau's every day? Or is there specific, I'm not against what you're talking about, no dates, but I would like, my view would be if we could have something that would have like, from this time period, from June, like every 6 months, a waiver filled, right? Like, so this time to this time, we have a period
If,
set.
if that's the limitation, we can live with that. Because on the form itself, they put down 5 days out of the week from 4:45 till 9 PM.
Mhm.
But if the request is that we renew it every 6 months, I think that's acceptable. I think the concern was that the
Every
form
day
doesn't-
is gonna be
right,
difficult.
Exactly,
Okay.
exactly.
Yeah, I mean, just because obviously if we say open the dates, my concern would be someone changing, right? I'd rather see it form.
And
change.
that way the commission also has more control over the renewal.
Mhm.
So I can understand that, and I think we can look at that.
Any other questions?
Mr. Kiuchi, I think you mentioned this before, but in terms of child labor working rules, those are in effect as especially since working nightly. How do those overlay on this employment?
Well, you've got the limitation on the hours. I mean, the problem is, it's a type of skill that's, I mean, they're doing knife dancing, so that's the one variation, the one deviation, but I think I'm pretty sure that the hours come into compliance because it's no later than 9 PM.
Okay, thank you.
Motion to approve request number 24-00648 with the verbiage that you folks will fill out a form and it'll be for every 6 months it needs
Yes.
to be reviewed or
Thanks.
updated and resubmitted.
Second.
Been a motion and a second. Any objections or reservations? Hearing and seeing none, I also vote aye. The motion carries. Request number 24-00648 is approved with the conditions set forth in the motion.
Okay.
Thank you. Calling agenda item number 22, request number 24-00721 from Roberts Hawaii Hotels Inc.
Again, good afternoon, Mr. Chair, members of the commission. Keith Kiuchi for the licensee. We made this request in part because there's a backlog, as the commission knows, on licensing, and there's been a backlog on processing architectural requirements. In this case, the harm to the licensee is they can't open the premises unless the alterations are approved. This is a location that used to be Fabric Lounge, and before that, my memory served me correctly, was a nightclub, and they're turning it into a different space entirely, which is basically a restaurant space. And the plans were presented, I think properly, was not logged in with the commission until June 22nd, but it's still over 3 months. And again, the harm is they simply can't open until the alterations are approved.
Can you elaborate just for our understanding as to why they can't open without the alterations being completed?
They don't want to, if they do so, they could be cited because the alterations need to be approved first. I mean, that's the part of the rule that creates a little bit of an issue.
You said the request for the alterations has been submitted already.
It was submitted back initially in May, but wasn't logged in until June 22nd. And it's been waiting since
Pending.
then. Yeah.
And is this the only thing keeping
Them from opening, yes.
so all of the other licensing requirements have been satisfied?
Yes. This is part of their hotel license. Roberts has a hotel license, so this is within the hotel license. There are locations in the hotel that are not part of the hotel license, but this is on the main floor, and all of the portions of the main floor are part of the hotel license.
So, so, so if I understand correctly, that you, the alterations were done, the stuff has been turned in and pending to finalize, but they can't open because if they open, there's gonna be violation because it doesn't match the floor plan, all that other stuff.
Right, and that's a common problem, when a business opens and, does the alterations, because they really shouldn't be. If they open with the alterations in place, they're gonna get a fine. That's,
Right, no, yeah, I mean, if they walk in, right, they're gonna look and see if the floor plan is correct.
and it's not.
It's
gonna be
not,
correct.
and we've done this and this, right?
Right.
And they're gonna get adjudication. Yeah, I get that. But on a normal basis though, right, would you? This is just question for me now, because I don't know, would you want to possibly? Make your decision on your floor plan and do all of that prior to even doing it? And then you could keep yourself running until you knew you could do it based off of how long it takes for construction to begin
Yeah,
with?
you could, but in this case, they completely changed the concept.
Okay,
Yeah, and that's why I went through the explanation. I represented the client that had the space next door, which is a small little lounge that used to be called Orange. So I'm familiar with this larger space. So if you look at the old floor plan layout, it's carved up like a bar, it's almost like karaoke rooms, which is not what conducive to a restaurant. And that's why, normally if you're just going from the same concept, I can see that you're correct. You should probably plan in advance. But this is a situation where they completely changed the concept. The other difference is Fabric Lounge was being operated by an operator in the services agreement. The hotel's actually operating this. So.
I'll take a couple of minutes, I'm sorry, but the commission may go into executive session to follow for the following reasons: consult with the board's attorneys and questions and issues on a matter pertaining to the board's powers, duties, privileges, immunities, and liabilities.
Second,
I entertain a motion for executive session.
second.
There's been a motion, a second, any objections, reservations, hearing and seeing none, I also would either motion carries, we are now in executive session.
Sorry. I just.
Okay, we are back on the record. Thank you for allowing us time to enter into executive session. We are back on the record. I'm just going to provide a brief comment and then leave it to my fellow commissioners for any further comments or type of action. So agenda item number 22 is requesting waiver of an administrative rule. The administrative rules, of course, are our default rules for governing liquor licenses. They are to be taken seriously and complied with in most circumstances. There are, however, circumstances that waiver would be appropriate, and there's guidelines under the rules that allow us to do that. I think for the commission, whenever we're looking at a waiver of a rule, we have to look at the underlying facts and circumstances of why we're waiving it, and we want to ensure that we're not waiving a rule that would in some way provide precedent for making that rule irrelevant, or stated otherwise, allowing a lot of people to exercise that same waiver in a way that makes that rule irrelevant. So when we're looking at waivers, we really have to look at, is this case unique? Are there facts and circumstances that set this particular matter apart and warrant a waiver or not? And that's what we have to look at when looking at agenda item number 22, because in particular, and we've discussed this in previous hearings, the issue of approval of alterations does come up quite frequently, and sometimes it's a challenge to comply with that, to be honest. So, requesting a waiver of that rule makes logical sense to me, but we, as a commission, don't want to take that waiver lightly or approve those waivers in a way that makes that rule irrelevant. It's still a rule, and it's still important in the context of licensing. I think I'll stop there, and I'll allow my fellow commissioners to add any additional comments or type of action.
So, Mr. Kyuchi, I just need you to understand, my views are trying to be consistent with what the rules are there for and why they are there. And I echo responses with Commissioner Buckley. We don't want to make rules irrelevant.
Okay.
My motion is going to be to deny request number 24-00721.
Second.
Been a motion and a second. Any objections, reservations? Hearing and seeing none, I also vote aye. The motion carries. Request number 24-00721 is denied.
Thank you.
Moving into other business, calling agenda item number 23, Liquor Commission 6-month review of operations regarding Blade and Timber LLC.
Thank you very much, Chair. Commissioners, Devin Koba, representing Blade and Timber LLC. On the phone is Mr. Matthew Basinger, Baysinger. He's the president and owner for Blade and Timber.
Correct. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, we can.
Good afternoon.
Thank you. I was on video, but it kicked me out when it went to executive session. My sincere apologies. I tried to reconnect.
Not a problem. We hear you loud and clear.
Perfect. All right. Well, yeah.
Oh, sorry to interrupt. This is a 6-month review of operations. We approved this application approximately 6 months ago. There were reservations at the time regarding safety and security of patrons. The combination of liquor and growing axes concern the commission. So we are here for a 6-month review to assess how things are going. Please proceed.
We've had no problems, nothing of any kind, actually. Service has been great. Food service as well as liquor service, actually there's been more serving of food than liquor, which is kind of what we were assuming was going to happen. And so we're actually at a little bit more food service than liquor service, and had zero problems at all in the 6 months. I believe Mr. Basic has some specific numbers if you'd like this.
Sure, Mr. Racing.
Yeah. So to give specific numbers, we've done $47,202 in food sales, $42,900, $42,400 in alcohol sales. More specifically, that's been 2,402 cocktails, 3,276 beers, 197 pours of wine, total of 8,011 guests during that period. So we're averaging a little bit less than one alcoholic beverage per guest in total. And as Mr. Nakoba mentioned, we in this duration have had 0 incidents in 6 months. So we're very proud of those numbers. It has been very helpful for business, has been very good for our bottom line. And so hopefully the commission would agree that we're offering a great service and providing a great service for folks here in Honolulu.
Thank you. Appreciate that report and the detail that you've provided. I do have one follow-up, and I don't know if you have the numbers on this, but the guest count that you provided is in the approximate amount of 8,000. That, of course, I'm presuming includes minors as well as adults that would be consuming liquor. Do you have any reports or any information concerning how many drinks adults only would consume, and if there's been any problems with adults attempting to consume more than 2 and being cut off? I say that in the context of, I believe, from what I understand, there was a limitation to serving a 2 drink maximum per patron. So just wondering how
that is correct. Yeah.
Been problems or patrons asking for more than the 2 drinks.
Sure. Yeah. No, it hasn't been an issue. And just to clarify on kind of the process by which we go through that, if a patron does want to consume more than 2 drinks, they are allowed to. They just can no longer throw axes. And so we do have folks who self-select out of axe throwing and decide to, watch a game at the bar or something like that. But we've not had any pushback. We've not had, again, we do nightly reports every night at the end of every shift. And we've not even had to throw any customers out or had to give warnings for unsafe behavior. It's been a very pleasant experience all across the board for our service in Honolulu. But to your more specific question, do I have specific numbers on, minors compared? I don't have that right here in front of me. I did not prepare that information. But as you all know, we don't allow folks under 14 in the facility at all. But yeah, so if people want more than 2 drinks, we give them the option to have that. They just can no longer continue throwing. So that's never been an issue here.
Great, thank you for your report. That's very helpful. Commissioners, any other questions for the licensee?
So I don't know if you have this number, but so I know he had asked whether or not there was people that had asked for a third and you asked them not to throw. Do you have an average percentage of, is that like 10% of your guests that are drinking alcohol, 20%, or something like that? And my question is more geared toward the fact that I had a lot of reservations in regards to going beyond 2 drinks. I still have some of those reservations only because you do have minors there, you do have sharp objects, and we're not stopping individuals from still participating in your facility, but we are stopping them from throwing axes at a certain point. So I don't know if you have that number, but I'm kind of looking at understanding a percentage of individuals that have wanted more than 2 drinks that have decided not to continue throwing axes.
Yeah, we could back into some math. It's not going to be perfect math, but we have 2,000, of the same 8,011 guests, we have 2,278 sales of non-alcoholic beverages. With our non-alcoholic beverages, that's Aloha juices, fountain drinks, Red Bulls. Most of these folks, with our fountain drinks in particular, which is the vast majority of those, it's free refills. And so it's relatively safe to assume that anyone who's drinking a non-alcoholic beverage is probably not drinking an alcoholic beverage. And so we can see right off the cusp, that over a quarter of our customers, really closer to about 28%, are drinking non-alcoholic beverages and not alcoholic beverages. And so, that leaves about 6,000 guests who have consumed about, if we do the numbers real quick, that's, 6,000 guests who have consumed about 5,000 beverages. So even of those who are choosing to drink alcohol, we're still at less than 1 beverage per adult who has thrown axes with us over this period of time. We do not keep record of how many, as far as a tracking purpose, we don't keep record as far as how many guests, decided to forfeit their ability to throw. If that was something that you were interested in us keeping for the next 6 months, I would be happy to keep that data for you.
And because I'm inclined that if Blade and Timber wants to look at going from a 2-drink to a 3-drink offering for people throwing axes, I would only be inclined to see if that's number of people that are stopping at 2 that would like 3 is a high percentage, because then obviously we want to maybe allow individuals to still partake in this activity, but yet be safe, right? For me, if they're agreeable to possibly maintain with just 2, I'm inclined to be okay with that. But if we're looking to go 3, I'd want to know what the percentage of people that are being denied to continue to get that 3rd drink is.
Well, just point.
Yeah, and I think what would make it. I'm sorry, am I talking over someone? I don't mean to do that.
Yeah, sorry, I was just asking as point of order, has there been any request to increase the drink minimum from 2 to 3?
No.
Okay, there has not.
No, to my knowledge, there's not. I mean, not from us. No. From guests, maybe. What would be probably an interesting statistic is I could compare our Honolulu store to maybe our Seattle or Portland store and see if we are averaging more drinks per patron. But I think, what's really good about our business as far as our operating procedures and protocols is that we know, on the website, people know they have 2 drinks. When we go through our initial rules and regulations before they're allowed to throw, they know they have 2 drinks. When they sign the waiver, it emphasizes they have 2 drinks. And so I think because of the education, we don't have a lot of people who are necessarily requesting to have more than that because they don't, it's not an option in the first place. And so if they know that that's the maximum, I just don't know that it's a fair data point per se to say, hey, we have X amount of people who are asking for more, or to qualify that would be the idea of how many it should be, because I think the better data point in my mind, as I'm processing out loud, I could absolutely be wrong on this, would be, how many drinks per patron are we averaging in Honolulu compared to other markets that allow 3? And is that a noticeably different amount? And then if it's not, then of course I would absolutely agree with you that maybe going above 2 may not even be necessary or shouldn't be looked at. But if there is a significant revenue loss, that does not affect safety, because we've also had no incidents at our other 6 stores as well. And so if there's not a safety difference, but there is revenue loss by averaging 2 drinks instead of allowing for 3, that's where we would hope to be able to increase that over time. But I think before we could equivocally say that, we would certainly want to provide the accurate data to back that up.
And so let me reiterate, I'm asking that question only because when this license first came in, the licensee requested 3-drink minimum. We decided that they would be okay with a 2-drink minimum, and that's what the 6-month review was based on. Not whether or not. So the idea was they were going to come back in 6 months, see if they could continue to or go to the 3, which is what they originally wanted. And so that's why I'm asking the question. Not that you guys have said you want to go to that, but that was what my understanding of what the review was for in 6 months.
I think when the review was first called for, I know in speaking to Mr. Basinger and the group that was working through Blade and Timber, for us, the safety has always been the major rule. So in keeping that in mind, the fact that you had asked for a 2-drink minimum or maximum actually, and the fact that you'd asked for the 6-month review, I think Mr. Basinger, in speaking with the group, they said, you know what, 2 is fine. We're okay with 2. We don't plan on going over that at any point in time right now. Again, we're going to be back here in 6 months to talk again, I believe. I thought we had a 6-month and a 1 year, but
I gotta look. I know that there was a 6-month for sure.
Yeah, you're on 1 year and then you visit at the first 6 months.
yeah.
Okay.
So
more
and we're totally fine with it. If we go with 2-drink maximum, it's fine. But we can get the questions that you've had. We're totally fine with gathering some of that information in the 6-month period from now till then, and get you some of that when we come back.
Yeah, just
my anticipation was not to ask for, to increase the drink maximum or even consider any changes until the 1 year. And so if I misunderstood that we were needing to present that information, or if you thought that we were asking to increase that at this time, just to be clear, that was not our intention. I was thinking we were going to wait for a full year till we made any changes to this program.
Yes, thank you. And my understanding of the motion in approval on the license was that it was conditioned upon the restriction of a 2-drink maximum. There wasn't a qualification that would or could change. So if there was a change that you wanted, you would have to request it.
Yeah.
Which you have not done
Of course.
yet. So that's
Correct.
consistent with your statement.
Correct.
Today's review is simply to see how you're doing. And if there's no action taken by the commission, you're still bound by the same restrictions on the license.
We're totally fine with it.
You may
That's
be right.
perfect.
I'm remembering if it's like
I'm
said this or this, but I know there's too
understand.
intriguing in between all of
I
that.
understand. It's fine. I mean, again, the object of the alcohol service was merely to add an extra level for people who are coming in. The main thing that Blade and Timber has always been concerned with is just making sure that people are doing this activity safely. So if it had been, if it remains 2 and you keep it at 2, it's totally fine. Because for us, if somebody comes in and wants to throw an axe, they need to understand that there are very specific safety guidelines that they need to follow. And that if they're at any time we are even the least bit worried about them, they're done. So.
Thank you. And I am pleased that the report is a good one in terms of no incidents, no casualties, so to speak. So that's all good news. And I'm personally inclined to not impose further restrictions or take away any restrictions that are current, just keeping the license status quo.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Practically speaking, from the statistics that were shared, it doesn't sound like there's any economic disadvantage presently with the 2-drink maximum. Now, of course, you can go back and run your numbers and see if that's something you want to request in the future, and we'll address it in the future if you do so.
Yes.
But
Yep.
For now, I'm pleased to hear that the report is clear with no incidents, and that's how I'm viewing it.
Yep.
So, yeah,
Thank you. I appreciate that.
I'm glad there's no incidents, because
No,
I was
thank
very
you.
concerned
I
about
know,
that when
you're,
we started
yes,
that.
you were very concerned, and I we completely understood it. And so that's why we wanted to make sure that all the commissioners were comfortable and knew that safety is the very first thing that we think about whenever we're doing this activity. For sure.
Because I definitely see people cut their fingers with a
Right.
knife and they have nothing.
And Commissioner Hong is sitting there with a large saber sitting over. So,
Well,
He's been practicing throwing that lately, I've heard.
Okay, any other comments from the commissioners, or a type of action, if any? If not, no action is required.
No action required.
thank you. We'll see you in 6 months.
Okay,
Well,
thank you very much.
Right.
Thank you, Mr. Mazinger.
Thank you.
Just a point of order, agenda item number 24 involves 17A Productions LLC. They do have 2 adjudication hearings further in the calendar, so we thought to combine all of them at that time. Is that okay? Okay,
We have a little bit too, so if you wanna, I'm here all the way to the end today.
okay. We'll hold off on agenda item 24 until the 17A production adjudications are called. Okay. Commissioners, may I have a type of action on agenda item number 25 through 27?
Motion for adoption of acceptance of plea and adoption of decision and order for agenda items 25 through 27.
Second.
A motion and a second, and the objections or reservations, hearing and seeing none, I also vote aye, the motion carries. Acceptance of plea, adoption of decision in order is entered for agenda item number 25, 26, and 27. Similarly, commissioners, may I have a type of motion for agenda item number 28?
Motion for adoption of decision and order for agenda item number 28.
Second.
The motion and a second, any objections, reservations, hearing and seeing none, I also vote aye, the motion carries. Decision in order is entered for agenda item number 28. Moving now into our adjudication hearings. Good afternoon, Mr. Nefsinger.
Good evening, Commissioners. Thomas Snapsinger, Deputy Corporation Counsel on behalf of the City and County of Honolulu.
Okay, calling agenda item number 29, LCV 23-0107, Kapoi Kai Limited.
Good evening, Chairman and members of the Commission. My name is Sheila Lipton. I'm here on behalf of Kapoi Kai 2.
Good evening.
Mr. Knapsinger, can you please read the charge?
On or about April 30, 2022, in the City and County of Honolulu, State of Hawaii, licensee purchased, acquired, or sold liquor which licensee purchased or acquired from a person or entity other than a licensed wholesaler licensed pursuant to Chapter 281 of the Hawaii Revised Statute in violation of Section 281-31 subsection T of the Hawaii Revised Statutes.
Ms. Lipton, how would you like to plead? You can accept the charge, deny the charge, or plead no contest.
I accept the charge.
Motion to accept the plea.
Second.
There's been a motion and a second. Any objections, reservations? Hearing and seeing none, I also vote aye. The motion carries. The plea is accepted.
Mr. Knapsinger, what is your recommendation for agenda item number 29?
This is licensee's first violation. The recommended fine is $500.
Ms. Lipton, do you have any explanations?
I just was not able to purchase my product from the distributor because of the supply chain problem we had getting a certain product that we wanted. So we did purchase at Costco or Sam's Club. I'm not sure which one.
Okay. All right, but you understand, right, that going forward, right, you're going to need to make sure that you get it from the correct sources. Obviously, Costco or Sam's Club were able to find it at a distributor, correct?
Right. Well, I assure you that won't happen again. I have learned a big lesson. Thank you.
All right. My motion is going to be to issue a letter of reprimand for agenda item number 29.
Second.
Been a motion and a second. Any objections or reservations? Hearing and seeing none, I also vote aye. The motion carries. A letter of reprimand will be issued for agenda item number 29. Thank you, Ms. Lipton.
Thank you, gentlemen. Good night.
Thank you.
Calling agenda item number 30, LCV 23-0106, Oweno Operating LLC. Oweno Operating LLC. No one online. No one's making an appearance in the room. Can we make one call? And again, this is agenda item number 30, LCV 23-0106, Oweno Operating LLC. Okay, there is no appearance for agenda item number 30, the licensee Oweno Operating LLC. Mr. Knapsinger, how would you like to proceed?
We would request entry of default at this time.
Commissioners?
Motion for a default judgment on agenda item number 30.
Second.
There's been a motion and a second. Any objections, reservations? Hearing and seeing none, I also vote aye. The motion carries and default is entered for agenda item number 30. So this charge relates to failing to accurately report revenues from gross liquor sales. Well, first I'll ask, what is your recommendation on this?
This is licensee's first violation. The recommended fine is $500.
Okay, so to the commission, I asked the question, would we want to just impose the fine, or is this the type of charge that we would want some answers regarding their conduct?
My question would be, do we know if they've been inaccurate in other time periods? Or would we be able to find that out?
We do have a member of the audit section here, if you wish to call her to report on this licensing.
Sure, we can. Please come up, and while you're doing so, Mr. Knapsinger, could you just for the record summarize how service was processed for agenda item number 30?
Notice of hearing was served on licensee supervisor on September 27, 2023. I'll also note for the commission, this licensee has no prior warnings, and this is their first violation ever of any rule.
Okay, thank you very much. Ma'am, could you state your name for the record and maybe provide some summary as to this matter?
My name is Tao Jia.
Hi.
Okay. For this one, the reason we select this one, because the sales to cost ratio was low at 1.75. And then we discovered that there are certain comp drinks or sampling, wine tasting, the licensee was not able to record. And also the manufacturer, they have the customer to manufacture the liquor, and the licensee was not able to record. Okay, and we advised the licensee, and he was very honest and willing to be compliance with our suggestion. So for F123, seems like he's on the right track. So the sales to cost ratio is reasonable at 3.7.
So if I understand you correctly, you did discuss this matter with the licensee. They understood what was happening.
Yeah, and they promised to follow our suggestion moving forward. Because this is the first time we audit them. We never did before. It doesn't necessarily say he did wrong. It doesn't necessarily say he was correct. It is the first time we caught him, but he's willing to follow our suggestion.
It sounds like from your prior statement that this year so far has been
So far,
looking
so
better.
good. Yeah, for that 123.
Thank you very much. Commissioners, any other questions?
No, thank you.
So personally, I'm inclined to just adopt the fine and not set this for a second hearing. It sounds like there's sufficient explanation.
Yes.
But I'll leave that to the other commissioners for comment.
So yes, I agree that, we pretty much understood what's going to happen, and he has taken corrective matters based off of what our accounting department has said. And obviously, if he's somewhere wrong, 2023, we'll find that out. So my motion will be to approve the recommended fine of $500 for agenda item number 30.
Second,
There's been a motion and a second. Any objections, reservations? Hearing and seeing none, I also vote aye. The motion carries. A fine of $500 will be imposed for agenda item number 30. Calling agenda item number 31, LCV 23-0108, Target Corporation.
Commissioners, stip and waiver was entered on behalf of the licensee on October 6, 2023. No further action is required.
Okay, so based on the stip and waiver that was entered, there's no further action required for agenda item number 31. Calling agenda item number 32, LCV 23-0105, Waikiki Resort Hotel.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, Commissioner members, Kenneth Fu appearing for the licensee. At this time, we will waive reading of the charge and enter a plea of no contest with an explanation.
Motion to accept the plea.
second,
There's been a motion and a second. Any objections, reservations? Hearing and seeing none, I also vote aye. The motion carries. The plea is accepted.
And I'm sorry, I had two representatives from the licensee to be present. One dropped off because of the time. But I have by Zoom, Warrene, WARRENE Ching. She is the controller for the licensee.
Thank you. Good afternoon.
Mr. Nafziger, your recommendations for agenda item 32?
This violation occurred on August 1st, 2022, when licensee failed to notify the commission of a change in officer or director. This licensee's first violation, the recommended fine is $500.
Mr. Hu, explanation?
Yes, it is a failure to notify an officer change within 30 days. The officer was elected effective August 1, 2022. The report and notification was given to the Liquor Commission in November of 2022. Unfortunately, the licensee was under the belief that the notification to the commission needed to include the personal history and fingerprinting, criminal clearance. The officer in question, David Pacey, does not reside here. So when he came here in November, all the paperwork was done and submitted to the commission. There was no intent to not disclose his election. As Mr. Nafziger has stated, this licensee has a good record, and we would hope that the commission would consider that in assessing the penalty.
So if I understand you, then you guys did the fingerprinting and all the paperwork on his trip to here.
That's correct.
So going forward, any types of changes for names or things like that, you don't need all of those things to be submitted when you do the name
Right,
changes?
I informed them that, and they're now aware that if there's an officer change and you can't get all the documents in within the 30 days, notify the commission of the name, age, and address.
Okay.
So at least you've made that disclosure.
Okay, only because obviously it's a hotel and there's probably gonna be changes of the major corporation that owns it, and most of them don't live here in Hawaii, so they need to at least be mindful of making sure it don't happen again.
Right, right.
Okay, all right. My motion is going to be to issue a letter of reprimand for agenda item number 32.
Second,
Been a motion and a second. Any objections or reservations? Hearing seeing none, I also vote aye. The motion carried. The letter of reprimand will be issued for agenda item number 32.
Thank you.
Thank you. Calling agenda item number 33, LCV 23-0076, Aloha Beer Company LP.
Good evening, Chair, Commissioner Greg Nishoka, authorized agent appearing on behalf of the licensee. Would waive reading of the charge. Would also like to ask for further continuance of this matter. We did submit a request for discovery, but we had to follow it up with a second request because we're awaiting the lab analysis of the liquid that was taken by the investigators. And I understand it was submitted to HPD, but HPD, this is kind of a low priority for them. And they are short of certain materials that are necessary to do the analysis. So I don't know when they're gonna get this, and when it'll be available. But I would suggest that we just continue to the next available date if possible.
Mr. Messing.
No objections, and I believe that we previously agreed to continue it to the November 2nd hearing. If we still don't have the report by then, we can move it further down the road.
Thank you.
Parties agree to continue agenda item number 33 to the November 2nd calendar. Before we move to agenda item 34, we will move back to and call agenda item number 24, Liquor Commission 6-month review of probation period for 17A Productions LLC, DBA Skull and Crown Trading Company.
And good evening, Chair, members of the Commission, Greg Nishoka, authorization appearing on behalf of the licensee, here for a 6-month review. Based upon, I believe, at the last hearing, there was concern raised about the transport area between that with the walkway. We've had no incidents reported. So that would be our report.
Okay. Commissioner?
I don't have any questions. I mean, that was the main idea, to find out if there was going to be problems in that area.
Commissioner Hall?
no, I'm good. Thanks.
Sounds like no further action will be taken for agenda item number 24. So we'll move back into our adjudication calendar and call agenda item number 34, LCV 23-0074, 17A Productions LLC.
Again, Greg Nishoka, authorization appearing on behalf of the licensee. You guys, good evening, Chairman of the Commission, in with Ray being in charge. Would ask again, maybe we can continue this to the November 2nd hearing, commission hearing. We have received a discovery from CORE, but we need to go over it with our client as far as to find out exactly what happened, before entering a plea in this matter.
Mr. Nessinger?
No objection.
The parties agree. We will continue agenda item number 34 to the November 2nd calendar date. Calling agenda item number 35, LCV 23-0050, 17A Productions LLC.
Good evening, Chairman of the Commission, Greg Nishoka, appearing on behalf of the licensee. I'm the authorized agent. Again, we're being charged again with ask that this be continued to the November 2nd commission hearing. Basically, we're trying to get data from our client. This is a situation where we didn't reach the 30% threshold. As you can, there was a previous hearing request today. They're involved in catering, so the fact that they meet the restaurant category license in place. So we're trying to work with them to see what the numbers are, to see where if we can raise the food where they're at as far as food sales in relation to liquor sales.
No objections.
Okay, parties agree. We will continue agenda item number 35 to the November 2nd calendar date.
Thank you.
Thank you. Calling agenda item number 36, LCV 22-0128, PC Associates LLC, DBA Club Potash.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chair, members of the commission, Chief Huge for the licensee. We're gonna move to continue this one last time and talk to Mr. Nafziger today. We don't want to keep continuing this. The dancer in question is still in Alaska. I talked to my client and he agrees this next continuance has to be the last. We're not going to wait for the dancer beyond that. We asked that this be set on the November 16th agenda.
Mr. Nafziger.
I'd like to make an objection for the record. This hearing and the previous one were both specifically scheduled with the licensee. They confirmed they were available in the state. We have nothing assuring us that this witness is going to be available in the next month or even in the next year. So I would just object for the record.
Mr. Kyuchi.
I talked to Mr. Nafziger and I told him that the next continuance would be the last of the 16th. The client agreed with that. If not, we'll just enter basically no contest plea because we have no way of defending the charge without the dancer testifying.
And if I recall, you pled no contest to charge 1 and denied charges 2 and 3. Is that
Yeah,
where we are
that's
headed?
correct.
And that's still.
That's still what's
Correct.
going to happen.
And the commission sustained charge.
Right.
1. So that would be
Yes.
just for the penalty phase.
Right,
Correct.
correct.
Okay, personally, I'm inclined to continue at one final time. We do want to see witnesses available and to hear that testimony if possible. Now, that said, we can't continue forever.
No,
And so-
and that's why the conversation I had with Mr. Nafziger today is that I talked to my client, he's good, he agrees, because he's he's also frustrated with the dancer, but he wasn't there that evening. So,
That's only my inclination. I will open it up to the commissioners for any other further comment.
I myself too, it's been the same view. I'd like to have as much information on any type of case that's we're gonna be doing with a continued contested case, and so I too am open to or willing to look at saying moving it to November 16th.
Mr. Hong, any other comments?
No, I'm open to the 16th as well, and with that, terminating this issue one way or the other.
So agenda item number 36 is continued to the November 16th calendar dates, and we will be prepared at that point to proceed.
yes.
Calling agenda item number 37, LCV 22-0151, WLC Corporation DBA Pandora Cafe Karaoke.
Again, good afternoon, Mr. Chair, members of the commission, Keith Hughes for the licensee. The licensee is out of town on unexpected business. We'd ask this be continued for charges 1, 2, 3, and 4. No contest plea have been entered and accepted. It's just charge 5, which is an alteration. I talked to Mr. Nafziger today, asked him to check whether there was an approval. That's really what the issue is. It's going to be a very brief adjudicated hearing.
No objections. And I believe we previously agreed to November 2nd
Right.
for this one.
November 2nd, right?
So agenda item number 37 is continued to the November 2nd calendar.
Yeah.
date.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Moving into other business, calling agenda item number 38, liquor administrator matters, excuse me, Mr. Pillows, you are up.
Sal Patilos, Administrative Commission, in deference to the time zone that Commissioner Hong is in, I'll try to make this, I'll make this brief. Earlier this week, we met with the Deputy Managing Director, as well as Wei Chen, to provide the Mayor's Office with a status update on the agency's efforts to address the system review recommendations. One thing to note as well is that we anticipate having Mayor Blangiardi visit the offices on the 24th of this month for his town hall skip level meetings. And essentially it's an effort on his part to hear the concerns, issues, and suggestions that employees may have about the commission. And I think an item that is of interest to all of you is that the second reading for the commissioner nominees will be on the 19th. With that, are there any questions?
I do have just one. You've mentioned, and I appreciate your comments on both public outreach that you've been doing. You mentioned that last week. And then your ongoing efforts in the in addressing the systematic review and its recommendations and findings. Have you been updated on the pending litigation? Now, of course, don't talk details in a public hearing on litigation and attorney-client privilege, but are you up to date on the issues that are involved in those cases? Are you looking at ways to address those, not from a litigation standpoint, but from a systematic standpoint? How are you doing with that?
Yeah, in terms of that, we've been in contact with the Office of Equal Opportunity Office as well as Corporation Counsel, and we have issued an advisory about the need to ensure that we conduct ourselves in a professional manner, as well as ensure that we treat all the people that we meet with respect. So in that sense, we're dealing with that and trying to make sure that that's the case. We're also just again with the city having an anti-harassment policy being issued. We are waiting for the training that will accompany that, and when that is available, we'll make sure that we send our staff to those trainings.
Commissioners, any other questions for the administrator?
I have no questions.
No, I'm fine.
Okay, great. In that case, we are adjourned.
Thank you.